Hello and welcome to the Motherload, the podcast for mums who work inside and outside the home. I'm your host, Dominique McMullen, Image Media's editorial director and mum to two young boys. We've got a really special episode for you this week, recorded live at our very first Motherload event in the beautiful Fern House at Avoca. I was joined by two phenomenal women, Sarah Battle and Hannah Saunders, to talk about the juggle. Hannah Saunders is a powerhouse in the true meaning of the word. She is founder of her own PR agency, Hannah Saunders PR, and mum to Brody, as well as fur mum to Chip. Hannah has worked between Dublin, New York and London, leading PR campaigns for some of the biggest brands out there, all while balancing life as a mum. Sarah Battle is a mum of five, an ex-home ec teacher, an RTE Home of the Year contender and a hugely successful digital content creator. She shares her life in the west of Ireland, bringing us a mix of interiors and fashion and food and family, all with a real authenticity and warmth. This was such a special morning and I really hope you enjoy the chat.
It's so lovely to be here. I'm so thrilled to welcome you all to the very first Motherload Live event and to see so many lovely familiar faces as well. It feels so good. The Motherload is powered by Peugeot and sponsored by It's for Women, Avoca and Liffey Valley. So please join me in giving a big round of applause for Sarah Battle and Hannah Saunders. Hi. You can sit wherever you want. What is your best side?
Sure, look, you're very fabulous.
So Hannah Saunders is founder of Hannah Saunders PR, which is a phenomenal PR agency, which has run huge campaigns across Dublin and London and New York. Sarah Battle is a digital content creator with 5 kids who are under the age of 10, nearly all under the age of 10. And Sarah used to be a home ec teacher and a former Home of the Year contender, and you're now a fantastic digital creator. So lots going on. Thank you both so much for being here today. How are you? Are you okay?
Very good.
I'm very nervous, but I'm good.
Don't be nervous. I'm very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how were your mornings this morning? Did you have a nice relaxing morning? I know you did, Sarah, because you were not with your kids.
No, and I was in the Paris Court Springs, which is beautiful, just over the road.
Is that a nice break?
It was. Yeah, it was nice just to get, even though I did get the text, what time is football at this evening? What's on today? Where is this? Where is that? But anyways, that's...
Yeah, I know those texts very well. How was your morning this morning?
My morning was good. Myself, my husband, my baby were away in Thailand last week, and the jet lag has worked wonders for our baby because he won't wake up in the morning.
Oh, amazing.
So yeah, we've had to kind of give him a nudge at about 8:30 to be like, hello. So it's given us a bit of extra time in the morning. So I'm hoping this might last.
Good. Yeah. Wow. It's all about sleep, isn't it? The difference when you get a bit of sleep.
Yeah.
How are your mornings normally in your house? Are they chaotic? Do you have a good routine? Sarah?
They're okay. We live about a 2-minute drive to the school, which makes all the difference. Isabella, who's the eldest, she is coming 10, so she tends to sleep in. So it could be 20 to 9, which I'm very lucky to be at the school for 9, and pulling her out of bed. And then once I've the lunches made the night before or prepared in some way.
Do you lay out the clothes?
And everything is laid out, yeah.
Everything's laid out. Shoes, socks.
Shoes, socks, underwear, every single thing has to be laid out, yeah. But it just makes it much easier and...
Yeah, and out the door. And yet somehow still you end up being late. That's my case.
Yeah, well, we're, like as I said, 2 minutes. And thank God, if I had to go in any way through traffic, we would be late all the time.
What about you? It's a little easier, but also you have a big business that you're running.
Yeah, I can't imagine with 5. So myself and my husband use this app called Time Tree. And that's where we basically log all of our daily happenings. So for the most part, we have a bit of a routine in that we know what mornings, who's leaving early for work, because our childminder arrives at 9 a.m. So sometimes I'm not getting into the office till like 9:45, and that's fine on certain days. But if I have events or client calls, etc., then I need to be on the early shift. So we log everything in Time Tree so we know who's doing what. We'll put everything in that, whether it's like X and Y is going to the gym that morning, just so that we can kind of try and like make the most of the hours that we have in the morning. And then I typically will get up at 6 or I'll get up at 5:30 if I'm going to the gym. And I'll always do the hair and makeup, etc. before Brody wakes up, so that then when he's up, I can be present with him, play, do breakfast. And then as soon as my childminder arrives, I grab my laptop bag and I run to the Lewis and I get into work. So yeah, we kind of try and cram a lot in the morning because we're both working parents, and for the most part, we're in the office a lot now. It's, you know, I'm sure everyone's kind of in different companies and stuff, but ours is like being in the office is like really kind of, you know, paramount to the work that we do. So every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have to get into town. So typically on those mornings, I'll leave a little bit earlier and Richie will kind of man shop until our minder gets there.
I feel like there's so much I want to unpick of what you just said. So what was that app again?
Time Tree.
Time Tree.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
And if you don't log what you want to do in Time Tree, it's not happening.
Wow.
So if I'm playing golf today isn't in the Time Tree, it's the golf isn't happening.
I feel like I need you in my life. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then you are one of those morning people, so you're up. Did you say at the gym at 5:30?
Well, I'll be in the gym for 6, yes.
Oh, Hannah. Wow.
Yeah. But
Fair
I can't,
play.
I'm an absolute zombie in the evenings. I 9:30.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part. Although last night with the White Lotus, I was glued. I was in bed very late last night.
Okay.
Because then we had to have a conversation about digest it all.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I actually don't think I slept until 11.
Okay. It's not as good as season 1 and 2 though, no?
Oh, I kind of ended up loving it. Yeah, it was different. It wasn't as funny, but I kind of, the fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was fabulous.
And the kind of the female friendship bit is quite interesting.
How true is that female friendship?
Yeah.
We all have those people in our lives.
Yeah.
And like, it's a good thing as well, because like they're characters, they're brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to hear you go to bed at 9:30.
For the most part.
Yeah. Okay. This whole event is about the juggle. I kind of couldn't think of a better starting topic for the Motherload. How is the juggle for both of you? What does it actually look like? We start with you, Hannah. I mean, I suppose your app is a very big part of that, but for the rest of your kind of day and your week, do you struggle with it? Do you ever feel like it's too much?
I definitely go through phases. I definitely have my phases where I feel I'm on top of things and I'm in a good rhythm. And then all of a sudden, it might be just because your workload increases or whatever it is. You always hit that wall. And that's when I book a flight to Thailand. But no, I feel the difference with having a baby is that kind of, I guess, anything can happen. You can be in the best routine ever, and then all of a sudden teething happens or a vomiting bug happens or something. And then everything is knocked out of sync. Yeah. But with running a business, you know, I can't turn around to my client and say, look, that deadline's not going to be met because, you know, my kid's teething. So that will mean that like when I eventually do get him down to sleep, I'll need to go back on the laptop to fulfill my work obligations. Yeah. So the rest element just doesn't exist anymore. So that's, I feel, the biggest juggle really, because you need to work so hard to find those rest periods and they just don't really exist as much. I would say as well, juggle is not possible unless you have a support system. Yeah. And like, I'm super transparent about that. I'm super transparent about it online. I've had a childminder since Brody was 10 weeks old because I had to go back to work at 10 weeks. I couldn't do what I'm doing without a childminder. So yeah, we have her 4 days a week, Tuesday to Friday. And then either of our moms do Mondays for us with like whenever they can. Like you just couldn't do it all without that. You just can't. No. And so even with that though, there's still kind of like we get everything ready. We prep all of his meals. You know, we have to plan any of his appointments, any of his little baby classes. I still do that with him.
What age is he now?
He's 17 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, so you're really still in the trenches. Like that's still really hard. You look so good.
Yeah, jeepers, I don't know about that. Thank you. But yeah, the juggle is made possible by having a support system. Yeah. That's by having very supportive parents, by having a wonderful childminder, by having a wonderful group of friends. Yeah. For the most part, my clients are very understanding of what it's like to be now running a company with, you know, being a mother as well, and how, you know, certain ways of working had to adapt. Yeah. I guess before I had a child, you know, you're just a slave to the grave. You're working until whatever time. In the pandemic, I was working until 2:00 in the morning every night. I certainly wasn't getting my 9:30 bedtimes. So in a way, life before was as chaotic, but just in a different way. Yeah. Now I have hard stops. So like my minder leaves our house at 5:30 in the evening, which means I have to leave the office at 5 o'clock to get home.
Yeah.
So every day I have a hard stop at 5.
Yeah.
I play with Brody for those few hours. I get him to bed, and then I do an extra hour of work in the evening to get it done. And to be honest with you, I don't really change that. Like if a client is like, Hannah, I need a call tonight at 8, for the most part, I actually say no, because I have to protect that time, because otherwise, as I was mentioning, you just don't get those rest opportunities. So I'm a little bit more confident with my ways of working and putting in those boundaries with my work. And to be honest with you, you still get the work done. I think you become incredibly productive when you're a mother.
Efficient.
Yeah, you become so efficient and you get the work done. And there's always like, before I was a mum, and even when I worked in big agencies before I went out on my own, there was always the people who sat at the desk until 9 o'clock at night because they just wanted to show that they were sitting at a desk until 9 o'clock at night. But they were never managing their workload well. They were just, sauntering around the place. When I'm in that office, I'm like head down. I like barely go to the toilet, to be honest. I eat my food at my desk and I get everything done. I'm in tunnel vision mode. So that's something that like, I guess I've just had to train myself to be since becoming a mom. And I'm really enjoying having those boundaries in place as well.
Yeah. Sarah, what about you? I mean, your career has developed and changed massively since becoming a mum 5 times over. You went from home ec teacher all the way through to digital creator. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
So we lived in Galway City and I was a home ec teacher there. That's where my permanent job was. And then I suppose when my sister got sick, we kind of prioritized different things and decided to move back to Mayo. And then obviously the kids came along. So between taking maternity leaves from school, and actually when I was a home ec teacher, I had done, I think I've done 5 postgrads, a master's in leadership and education, and I was very, very ambitious in my 20s. Became vice principal when I was 29 of the school, and then it was like this dark cloud came over everything, and that just stopped. Yeah. And I was at actually something a few weeks back, a charity event, and they were saying, you can have 101 problems, or you're always kind of striving for the next thing, and then your health or someone's health is there, and that's the only problem that you have, and it's the only thing that you can see. Yeah. So I suppose after having the kids and taking maternity leave, parental leave, and I'm now on career break, and started, I suppose, around the time of just before Home of the Year, actually, and just creating probably interiors, kind of lifestyle content. And then COVID happened, and obviously with the home ec background, I was like, okay, let's start making banana bread and all of these different things that people loved. And I was in the home and just doing different bits and pieces. And then I was obviously expecting twins, and that was a huge, I suppose everyone was interested in that because, like I just think everyone was interested in anything around that time. They're all sitting at home. So then I just kind of went into lots of different things, and like there's only so many times you can do the house thing and so I just like the varied
and it allows you, I would imagine, time. You're your own boss and you can create when you have time to, when you don't have to, when you don't have time to. I mean, you're downplaying what you do. You create beautiful content on your Instagram, really beautiful content.
Like people say that I sometimes I think I often say like, with everything I've done, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done. With all of, going through college and different things, it's definitely the hardest job that I've had. And, there's lots of different reasons why I think that is, often seen as maybe it's not a job, you're in the home and you're creating this work. And it's like, it comes from maybe my friends or like, oh, Sarah, you must, go away all this time. Like, and anytime I'm away, it's usually with work. Like I'm not treating myself to a hotel stay in the middle of the week. It's usually work, but it's very hard, I think. Maybe it's a country thing. I don't know, like that people think you're actually working. you know, and it's just this lovely cake that appears on the table. But, you know, like there's lots of different things around it. I've lots to say on that. And I think it's something that could be kind of looked at maybe down the line or whatever. But
people don't take the digital creator role
I don't
seriously.
know if it's seen as a job.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's now a college course in UCD.
yeah, it
Is
is,
it?
yeah.
I mean, it's a big job. There's a huge amount in it. It's not just the
Huge.
pretty
That's
picture.
it's definitely the hardest job I've ever had because there's lots of different facets and lots of things to it. But also then you have to really balance, like I'm at home, my kids are, you know, like what Hannah said, definitely the support system. My mother lives up the road. And she has been amazing from day one. You know, she's incredible and she just drops everything and she'll arrive at the house. And when I was expecting the twins, there was a girl lived down the road and she put a letter into the letterbox and said, I'm whoever, I'm 15 years of age, I have 3 younger sisters, I'd love to come and help.
Oh, amazing.
And I opened this letter and it's like, Barry, just bring her right now, like I know the family. And she has been with us since she is now doing home ec. She's in first year doing home ec in college, home ec teaching. And she's like, I call her my right-hand woman, like if I didn't have her, and she drives now, she's got her car, everything. And so between her and my mum, and just like, you know, there's a good support system. And Barry is, I have to say, he's absolutely incredible. Like we really co-parent. I'm going to definitely give him 70%. Like he's, he's on, like when he's, I win like.
And then he does 70% or is in his score is 70%?
He does 70%. Like we're 70-30, sorry. A lot of the time, like he's probably a bit like you, Hannah. He just gets things done. Like he's like, and I'm still like wandering around going, are we on number 3 of the list? I don't know. And then he's away like a couple of months where I just know he's gone and that's work. And
he's gone for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Wow,
so it's kind of like seasonal. So
okay. And it's so important. You can hear from both of you to have those support systems. Like they are so essential.
And I think sometimes people are almost afraid to say that they have support. It's like you get this extra badge of honor by not having support or something. I don't know what it is. I remember on Instagram once, myself and Richie were out for dinner and someone messaged me going, who's minding Brody? And I wrote back going, Chip, my dog. He's really, really qualified and he's in great hands. Yeah. I was like, who on earth do you think is minding him? Clearly an adult or a professional
Somebody
minder.
responsible,
My mother is at home. Like, it's just kind of baffles me because everything got to do with, like, I feel parenthood and childcare and everything. It's all circumstantial.
Yeah.
If you're working full time, you need to have support, whether that is a relative supporting you or a professional childminder. And there is no difference of whether it is a relative or a minder. And I think sometimes when you say minder, people get a bit like, oh, right, she has a minder. But it's the exact same as your mom helping.
Yeah.
It's the exact same.
Yeah.
But I think it's still this kind of weird taboo almost.
But the thing is, it's replacing the village, which would have, historically been what was helping us. And you can't do it without the village. We're not designed to do it without the village. So let's stop right here. Everybody, if you can have a childminder you're lucky enough to, there is no shame in anybody helping anybody. No shame at all. Do your lives feel balanced? Hate that word. Do your lives feel balanced? Sarah?
I feel very content at the moment with where I am. I don't know if the balance, like, they're so young at the minute. I give all of my time to my kids when they come home from school and we're running and racing to activities. And then sometimes I'm like nearly cursing all the activities and after school. Then I'm like, God, it's great that they can do this and it's not going to last forever. And it's the favorite phrase of my mother. She's like, isn't it great that they can do all this and, be thankful and be grateful. And, I just feel content at the moment. Overwhelmed at times, yes. But content and lucky that with myself and my husband that we pretty much share a lot of the load, the mother load.
Yeah. Do you ever feel something that I constantly recognize I'm doing is caught between this need to be present when I'm with them and productive, whether that's work, whether I'm like trying to get a little sneaky email in or I'm trying to hoover or do the laundry or do the washing machine or whatever it is. Do you ever feel like that, Hannah?
For sure. I think that's one of the reasons why I like to go to the office, because when I'm at home, it is like that. I'll be on the phone and I'll have the Dyson in my hand. But no, I think for me, like in terms of balance and being productive and being present, I think what I've come to realize is that something's got to give. And generally, if I'm kind of thriving in work, maybe my health's not doing so well. Or if I feel like I've got everything together with Brody, then I feel I'm really behind on email. I feel it's just not humanly possible to be doing every single part of modern day parenting as such well, because as I said, something's got to give. And so that's why I think like, you know, you've got like when you think of your cup and like what you put in your cup to fill it, you know, some of it might be work, some of it might be family, some of it might be friends, some of it might be self-care. I think it can never be even layers as such. And so like, for example, I didn't get a very long maternity leave because I'm self-employed. And then a lot of my friends were pregnant and had babies at the same time as me, and they got a healthy maternity leave, and they were all meeting up the whole time, and they were all going to the baby classes and everything. And like, I felt so left out. I think, you know, I wasn't added into like one kind of maternity WhatsApp group or something. And I remember feeling really sad about it. But then I was like, but I'm doing well at something else. And I can't be in the maternity WhatsApp group because I'm not around to go to Avoca at 11 o'clock on Friday. I'm just not. So I think with balance comes sacrifice. And I think when I accepted that, look, I'm not going to get to see my friends every week. It's now going to be every few weeks. And I'm okay with that now. So once they're okay with that and they don't judge me for working, then I feel content, as Sarah said. Like, and I think there are a number of elements that you have to get right with before you find that element of content. Absolutely. So I think balance is a word that is, I feel like it can't even be associated with being a mom and doing it all, but it's obviously something we strive for. And I think the most important thing with balance is making sure that you're happy above anything. It's your health and your happiness are the most important.
Absolutely.
So like if I have times where I feel the anxiety is creeping back in, I instantly know it's because I'm not sleeping right. It's because I'm stressed. So I then need to look at the cup and say, okay, what can I reconfigure here? Because if I'm not feeling like my best, happiest self, then I can't be the best mom, or I can't be the best boss, or I can't be the best PR person, or whatever it is. So I'm constantly re-looking at how I'm basically managing things.
It took me so long to figure out to do that. I like that. So nice to hear you say that. I think that's so important to look at what's balanced and to notice if you're feeling a bit stressed and to think about what needs to be tweaked. Because it took me a really long time to get there. I was kind of, you just keep going and going and going because you have to.
And I think also like women more so than men almost accept that being sleep deprived is okay. And it's not. Like you like, I feel like men would like sneak off and have the nap or say, look, I just can't do this today, I'm knackered. Whereas the women are like, oh geez, I slept for 20 minutes last night, but I'm now going to do the supermarket shop. I'm going to bring the kids to horse ride. I'm going to, no, you have to rest. So I think if you're not helping yourself, nothing else can. So I think don't get into a rhythm of saying, oh, sure, look, I haven't slept in 4 years. Like, sort it out.
Sort it out.
Yeah.
I was just looking, is there any men in the room other than men who were employing? I don't think there is. No. Great. We can talk about them.
And men are brilliant as well. Like,
sorry. Men are brilliant.
And as Sarah said as well. Like,
I love men.
Richie is bloody amazing with Brody and everything. But again, he got 2 weeks paternity leave as well. So,
they start from a really hard place.
Exactly. So, they don't have the physical recovery, depending on what kind of birth you had and everything like that. So there are differences at play. 100%. But I do think men are better at prioritizing the kind of the self-care element or the I need my own space element. I think women are often harder on themselves for that.
As a mum, the reality is you spend a lot of time in the car. And whether you're juggling work, home, or both simultaneously, you need a car that just makes life easier. The other Image Mums and I recently test drove the Peugeot 3008 and the 5008, And honestly, we were genuinely impressed. They're spacious, big enough for car seats, school bags, sports gear, with clever storage and really innovative tech. Plus, they just feel great to drive. The 3008 SUV is a perfect mix of style and practicality, while the 5008 has the extra space and 7 seats if you need them. Whether you've got babies, toddlers or teens, Peugeot has thought of everything. When life is non-stop, you need a car that keeps up, and honestly, Peugeot just gets it.
You talked a little bit there about kind of the having it all. And I think it's really interesting, both of you being online and being kind of social media characters. I was going to say that's not right, but social media influencers. I think probably a lot of mums feel a pressure to kind of have it all and do it all and be seen to be doing it all on social media. And I wonder how you guys feel about that. Sarah, how do you feel about that?
I definitely think with social media, and I refer to myself, and probably one of my traits is doing things to perfection. And I don't know, is it to my detriment or I don't know what it is, but I have to have, like, you know, and it's probably through my teaching as well, like with home ec, like they're doing their practicals and I'm like, oh, maybe this would look, you know, it's like this perfect look.
Yeah.
Trying to, like, for me, I'm trying to go away from it all, because it's not actually how, you know, people are like, how do you keep your house so clean? Or I'm like, it's one shot or one image and the chaos is behind it. So you kind of have to, I think people now know, like when you're looking at social media, it's not like there's no way that everybody has it all. It's not all perfect. There has to be, as you said, some sacrifices, something has to give.
Yeah.
That scale is probably up here for, oh yeah, that was a lovely, you know, that was something great at work, but down here something has suffered slightly. So I think everybody here would agree, like if you are looking at social media, you're looking through a rose tinted lens, and there is plenty of pages out there that give the absolute reality as well. You know, so everyone finds kind of their own thing that they're watching through that rose tinted lens that they want to see. But definitely for me, it's health and happiness at home, and that's probably my number one priority, that everybody is happy at home and not really what anyone thinks online, you know, or what people are thinking, you know. It's kind of.
Hannah, do you have any thoughts on that?
I just kind of say, like, I am who I am, and what I post online is just a bit of me. Yeah. And if that's not what people vibe off, or if that's not what people can relate to, then I always say, like, you have the option to choose who you follow. And I felt when I was pregnant, I was just getting, like, it was like a tsunami of scaremongering and like these videos that made me be like, oh dear Jesus, what am I getting myself into? And then when my experience of motherhood came around, and look, don't get me wrong, every single experience is different. I have one of my best friends whose baby is like extreme colic. It's horrendous all day, every day. The baby won't stop crying. Like, I really, really feel for her. She can't do it all because she's literally, the baby is on her. Everyone is so different. My particular experience was, for the most part, extremely positive. And I wanted to share that because it is real. And I think motherhood can be really positive. Yeah. And I didn't see enough of that, I think, online. I was just kind of seeing everything else, the hard parts of it, which are and will always be there. But I think sometimes, like also with social media, like there's snippets of your day. Like even if I post 10 stories in a day, they're 30 seconds long. That's 300 seconds of your 24-hour day. There's a lot going on outside of that. But as Sarah said, I think people need to just understand that, like, social media is a snippet. Yeah. And for me, it definitely is a highlight. I'm not a page who's putting up the Brody has had a punami everywhere on my brand new carpet. Like, I'm not putting a photo of that up online. I'm just not. Like, that's not my page. Yeah. You'll find that on someone else's page. I have vomit in my hair quite often. I'm not showing it. I just don't think anyone needs to see that. Like, so I think you just choose what you want to post, basically. And I think I want to be a little bit of an advocate for this can be a really nice time in your life.
I love that.
And that's not fake, it's real. And I just don't really, like, I have terrible days but they're generally the days I'm not online because I can't be. So yeah, I think once people realize that who you're following is who you choose to follow, if you don't relate to it, that's not going to be good for you. Yeah. Like I actually unfollowed loads of accounts, I feel, when I was pregnant because they weren't speaking to me. And likewise, as a mom, you know, whether it's topics on breastfeeding or whatever it is, if things were just kind of upsetting me or making me a little bit hypersensitive, I was like, then that shouldn't be on my algorithm. Yeah. So I think it just needs to be a slightly more interpreted environment, like, and you know, then it's not taken too seriously, because it's not.
And I wonder whether your reaction to that has to do with your journey to motherhood, which wasn't so straightforward. And I'm sure you were so, you know, overjoyed at the fact that you were a mother, that you wanted, you know, that experience was so positive for you. If you're comfortable talking about the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And jeepers, now I feel like my journey was straightforward compared to other people's journeys or whatever. But yeah, I guess it just took longer than I thought it would. And you know, I'm often asked the question online from people like, of Hannah, did you know when the right time was? I'm starting to think about it. I almost want to jump through my phone and say to that person, go light the candles, run upstairs and get on it. Because like you don't know how long it's going to take you. I honestly thought, like, you know, I'd sneeze and be pregnant, and it just wasn't the case. And I think, you know, you're in school and you're in college, and particularly in school, you're kind of taught how not to get pregnant. Yeah. There's no one who really guides you on how to get pregnant. And for me, it was actually on Instagram. I followed this lady who's a fertility specialist, and she was starting to talk about things that might be slight hindrances in your journey. And those slight hindrances were literally me to a T. It was like high intensity interval training, like in your workouts, not eating breakfast. Like there was a number of things that she had described. And I remember being like, I'm guilty of every single one of them. So I made very subtle changes and I got pregnant. Now, I don't know if it was the timing or because of those changes, I don't know, but I booked a consultation with that lady, that fertility specialist, and yeah, luckily the next month I got pregnant. But yeah, it was much longer than I'd ever. How long was it? I think it was like 10 or 11 months. Okay. Yeah, so I thought literally I'd get pregnant in a month or whatever, and then but now I know from talking to friends that really isn't long. But I think when you're in it and it's all you want, it feels so long. And even that waiting 3 weeks to do a pregnancy test can feel like bloody forever. Yeah. And that every month, like I literally have my best friend's girl called Emily, and like I remember looking at the WhatsApps or whatever, been like, got my period again, you know, and it's just like, yeah, when you're in it, it feels really long, but actually the specialists and stuff will say to you that that's not long.
No, it doesn't feel long.
No. But it was like, luckily after that, then I just moved pregnancy.
And Sarah, you had, obviously, you know, you've become pregnant 5 times over. You had a difficult journey when you had 3 young ones. Mental health wise, if you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so, well, even actually on the lead up to having Isabella, my sister was quite sick at the time. And it's funny, you know, I desperately wanted, like you thought, okay, I'm going to get pregnant straight away. And it was during the time while she was sick. But after probably a year, I went for a blood test. You know, they do the hormone tests, and it's I can't remember what days it is, but there's two types of bloods you do. But my prolactin came back higher than an exclusively breastfeeding woman. And so obviously, you know, if you're exclusively breastfeeding, it is probably like contraception, and you know, you're not going to get pregnant. So I remember the doctor came back, and she was like, the next thing. So my sister had a brain tumor at the time, and she said the next thing you need to do is go for a brain scan. And I was like, oh my God. So I was like, why do I have to do this? And it can be linked to something on the pituitary gland, prolactin, and different things. Anyways, this had stopped me from getting pregnant, but got all of that sorted out. Everything was okay, but it was internal stress. So that was the start of it. Internal stress can raise your prolactin levels to that, you know, in the thousands. So that was the start of it. Got pregnant with Isabella, and she's my eldest. she was born in May and my sister passed away in the September. So even just being pregnant, number one, your first baby and you just want to be so excited. It was something that I really held back. I didn't want to upset my sister. She had a baby at the time, and her baby was only 2.5 when she passed away. So not that I hid my pregnancy, but I just didn't want that joy. You keep that joy to yourself because you don't want anybody to feel like, oh God, I never have this again or whatever. So kept all that in. Probably around the time that she passed away, I found out I was pregnant with Alexander, which was my second. So that was all through grief again. And then Matilda came along and I had 3 under 2.5. And I had processed nothing. And I was basically, after I had Matilda, that's when my world just collapsed in, I think. So I had 3 in nappies, 2 obviously not walking. We were building a house at the time, so we were renting. But I do remember, I was breastfeeding Matilda and I just remember you see the little tears kind of splashing off her face. And there's one particular picture and I'm sitting there holding, the 2 of them are sitting beside me and it's just such an idyllic picture. And I had it on my own personal Instagram. And I remember looking at that picture going, oh my God, this is a beautiful picture. But the sadness I felt and the heartbreak I felt looking at it, because I was absolutely in shreds. So anyways, as time went on, I was crying a lot. And, your midwife comes out and they talk about the baby blues and you're always kind of aware of this. But honestly, my world crashed in very, very quickly. And I remember crying nonstop and the window being open. I was like to my mother had to finish work and she maybe was off sick from work for me. And I remember I said, please close the window because I don't know who's going to hear me. That's how loud I was crying. And she was like, Sarah, and I know this, she goes, you have to stop breastfeeding because I have to come and help. Like she literally moved in and she's like, I have to take over, I have to help. And she's never spoken about it. I don't know, was it like that? Maybe she had that experience herself. So she basically moved in with us into that rented house and we were able to, bottle feed Matilda and I kind of finished up on that. But I remember lying in the bed, couldn't get out of the bed. That was another thing. I was really I had no interest in getting out of the bed. I was in a dark room and my dad rang me and he was like, Sarah, I'm with your husband and your 2 lovely kids and we're down in a cafe. Please get up and meet us. I was like, I actually can't. I cannot get up. I cannot see myself even meeting anyone. I can't see myself having a coffee. I remember Mum was like, Sarah, go into town and meet your friends for coffee. And I drove in and I had such a panic attack on the way. I just turned what I felt as a panic attack. And I turned and went back to her again. I was like, what is wrong with me? I can't pull myself. So anyways, went to the doctor. And they ask all these questions like, have you thoughts of harming yourself? Your children? It's scary when you're in that, and thankfully I didn't, but I was like, this is a reality for a lot of people. So went on medication for a short period of time, thankfully. And then I started counselling and what came out of the counselling, I remember the first day I went to the counsellor and she was like, just give me a timeline of what has happened. And the next week, she's like, I'm not trying to catch you out, but nothing made sense. So it was like, you had your first child, was your sister sick, someone died, the next child came along. I couldn't put it in the way it had happened. I couldn't process it. So there was a lot of grief, just worried about the kids. I have one worried child, I'm always worrying about the same child. And just everything just came on top of me. But thankfully, with help, counselling, my family around me, my community, everyone was very, very good. But I definitely hid a lot. I was very capable of keeping the outside facade or the exterior quite composed, quite calm. Yeah. But as I said, I was in shreds. It was a very, very bleak time. And I think just even knowing that my sister had a baby and just watching, she passed away at home, and watching the last few days, like there's so much that nobody processed in our house. And like even watching your parents lose a child, I was like, it was just, it was a lot. And then having 3 pregnancies. And, you know, like not like when they're so quick together. And also, as I said, I never was going around saying, I'm expecting my first baby. And there's none of that. Like I was minding my niece, who did lure me into a false sense of motherhood because she was the perfect child. And then Isabella came along and I was like, oh no, I don't know, this is totally different. But, you know, it was a busy time. And obviously we thought about my sister and what she was going through. Hell, I would never have compared anything in my life, because you'd do anything to take that pain away from someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of
just listening to you there I don't know, I'm sure everyone else in the room, that was just so heartfelt and beautiful. And even for me personally, I know that grief and small child feeling, I know it really well. And my mom is right there, and my mom is crying and I can't look at her. My dad passed away also from a brain tumor when my second was really small. And I know exactly, it's a really exquisite, funny, joyful, painful, everything of life and death wrapped into one. So thank you for sharing that so beautifully. The way you speak about it is so beautiful and meaningful, and thank you for sharing it.
You as well. And that was when Brody was 7 weeks old. He passed. Yeah. Yeah, it's awful. It is that horrible parallel of one life leaving and one life coming in, and not feeling like you can't be happy because you're so sad. Remember being at Richie's dad's funeral, like breastfeeding, sitting there, like listening to his favorite Beatles song, just like bawling. And then Brody started crying. I had to leave the church. It was just this shit show, for want of a better word. It's just, it's such a turbulent time. But with the babies, they just bring so much happiness.
Yeah, they do.
I know for Richie's mom particularly, like Brody just saved her. Like he was like her little guardian angel. I'm sure yours were for your mom too.
Yeah. And I suppose what sports, like I felt like, I mean, I went to my GP and I had a very similar situation where I just fell apart. What sports do you think are missing, or what kind of signs do you think to look out for to help mums when they're in situations, and it doesn't have to be as extreme as grief, you know, just when you're not coping?
I don't know. I feel like I forget everything. You know, I'm looking at all these gorgeous newborn babies, but like the midwife, you know, they when they do come out, or your public health nurse, they do say, you know, the baby blues are things to watch out for. But
feels like enough though, doesn't
no,
it?
it doesn't feel like enough. But I honestly think people need to know more about that before, like just there's little things like that. As I said, it crept up very, very fast, and it escalated very fast for me. I don't know, like, I mean, just talking to other people, there's so many groups now, and there's different mum groups that you can go to beforehand. But I honestly think leading up to pregnancy, and I don't know what you think about it, everything is like, how you do this, how do you breastfeed? Yeah. You're given a fake baby, you know, and it was the hardest thing. Like, that was the hardest thing, like even breastfeeding. I was like, this is impossible. This is excruciating pain, toe curling pain. Or like how to give birth. And I'm like, how do you practice? You know, like you're doing nothing. Not one of my births was the way that I had gone to any of these, you know, antenatal classes. Not one. But obviously you go to all of this, and it's important because you'll meet people along the way, and people will tell you, you know, I think it's lovely to listen to real life stories, and maybe that they don't scare you, obviously, as well. But, you know, lean into your friends, your community, your good family, and I suppose know your triggers and
Well, I think what I said earlier as well about I think with the sleep deprivation as well, I think a lot of people will say, I just feel like this because I'm tired, and you muddle up the feelings. So I think
really important.
Yeah, I think it's really important of knowing the difference of like actually just feeling tired and kind of feeling a bit depressed. Because I think women can go on for so long thinking that it's just because they had to wake up in the middle of the night, when actually it's like a hormonal imbalance, and there's way more than that.
Yeah.
And I think often it can be accumulative as well. Like it can get worse throughout your pregnancies. So I think, as Sarah said, like preparing yourself in advance and saying, look, I'm not going to let myself get to that stage again. I saw what I was like on baby number 1. If that happens again, I'm going straight to the GP. I'm not going to just get ahead of it.
Yeah, don't wait for the world to collapse.
It's very, very, very common.
Yeah, very common, very normal. Get ahead of it.
It's definitely like twins. I was definitely more like this could happen again.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, like my mother was like, I'm here. I'm like, she was nearly right beside me. Everybody was very like looking at me very closely, and
of course they were
wondering, is she okay? Or
you had 3, and you had all of your experience and your grief, and you lost your sister, and then you had twins. Which is a lot for anybody. Is a lot.
And that was the easiest. Like the 3 was the hardest time for me, and then I had the twins over COVID. So I'm always the type of person, I'm going all the time, like here, there, and everywhere. I just love to get in the car and do different things. So I had no opportunity. I was sitting at home, and it was an easier time.
Yeah.
I know it was a difficult time for a lot of people, but for me, it was an easier time.
I'm going to ask one final question of both of you, because I could actually sit here all day, but I have to stop myself. So one final question. What do you hope that Brody sees from watching you navigate the world? What do you hope he takes away?
Oh God. I think, I just want him to, whatever his dreams are, for him to be able to go and follow them. So I guess I'm just working hard to give him the best possible life that he can have. I think, I had tough elements in my childhood growing up and have traumas that I'm still working through myself. And for me, I just want Brody to get through a life without trauma, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's all I want as a mom. But yeah, I hope he just sees that, I think a lot of people could talk about how proud they are of their dads. And sometimes they don't say the word proud when it comes to their moms. And so I want Brody to grow up feeling proud of his mom. I think that's something that would mean a lot to me anyway.
I think he 100% is going to be. I really do. Sarah, what about you?
I don't know, just that they're, kind and grateful. And when I look at them, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I feel so lucky that I'm here for them, and that they grow up just doing what they want, doing what they want to do. You even talked about the good enough parenting, that they've seen disappointment, because by default, that's what it's good enough parenting that I'm doing. So that they have disappointment, they know I'm there, their needs are met, and they're just that they will, as you said, be proud and know that I'm there all the time, and that they're content and happy kids.
Thank you so much to Hannah Saunders and Sarah Battle. You've been amazing, guys. Thank you. Thank you also to our incredible sponsors who make the Motherload possible. And that is it for me. Thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, you might also like to log on to image.ie or subscribe to our Motherload newsletter to hear from me directly about anything we have coming up. Please also tell a friend about us. It helps us reach more women who need these conversations. Thank you, as always, to the incredible brands that make the Motherload possible. The Motherload is powered by Peugeot and sponsored by It's for Women, Avoca and Liffey Valley. And finally, thank you for being part of this conversation. I will talk to you next week, but until then, take care, lean on your village and mind yourself.